This video is sponsored by WinWin Technology, your ultimate flight sim hardware solution, featuring the Orion HOTAS, current and future configurations.
Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well today for something a little bit different. We are talking here today with the, let me get this right, DCS World closed beta testers. I got it right, didn't I? Hello guys.
Yep.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Look at that, beautiful. Right, so the reason why we're doing this interview slash discussion, and I just wanted to have a little chat with you. The reason is, let me think, I was in DCS, as I am basically all the time, as you probably are as well. And we've been doing a lot of big kind of campaign games. We do mass multiplayer in GR, obviously, 25 humans plus against either more humans or a load of AI. And it suddenly dawned on me, hey, we're doing this now in late 2021. These massive wars with China attacking these guys and whatever. And we're having almost no problems, technical problems, hardware problems, software problems, sorry. I do have some problems, but that's usually my fault for, putting in a weird mod or something like that. Core game, almost no problems now. And I'm kind of used to that now. I'm doing me wrong, there's some odds and sods, there's still a problem with the harpoons and stuff like that. But generally speaking, we almost never get a crash or anything like that. And we've kind of got used to that now with mass multiplayer. And I think back, 3 years ago or something, we were trying to do the same thing, mass multiplayer. And it must have been, I don't know if any of the guys here remember, Auntie will probably remember, crashing every other time, crashing one in every 3 times, the server, all kinds of problems, radar problems. I remember doing whole campaigns where we couldn't use a MiG radar because it crashed everything, and stuff like that. And now we're in this lovely place at the moment, touch wood, where everything is not perfect and it never will be, but it's bloody good. And I'm absolutely chuffed with it. And to the point where I'm literally doing, stupid things, but things with 300 AI aircraft fighting, 5 humans or something, and that could never have been done, even on the same hardware, just a couple of years ago, because the software wasn't that good. And so that's great. And so I suddenly think, well, why is this? Well, the answer is I don't really know, but I suspect it's a lot to do with the fact of the tester group, the closed beta tester group, which I know has grown in size and seriousness. It involves GR guys and it involves a lot of non-GR guys as well, obviously. And so I thought, right, well, we've got to kind of go and thank those guys. Well, okay, what do they want? Do they want anything material? Do they want money or something? Well, clearly not, because they all do it for free anyway. So clearly they're not driven by that. Well, what do they want? All I can think of giving you is a bit of recognition, because a bit of kudos, should we say. So that's why we're here today, to really thank you guys who are clearly making a massive difference over the years, and things are improving. And as well as that, we've allowed the valued viewers to ask a set of questions, and we've got 20 questions or thereabouts that we're going to go and ask. That's my introduction. I'll do my questions first because I've got a couple, and then I'll do the viewer questions. First of all, is there such thing as how many of you guys are there? Is there such a known number?
Yes, there is. There's approximately the closed beta testers. I think there's around 50 in total.
50?
50, and that's made up of obviously the guys that are here now, and then we have representatives from most of the bigger multiplayer servers as well. At least one person from those servers that obviously allows them to test things prior to updates. But yeah, around about 50, probably grows slightly as well.
And has that grown in the last year, do you know?
Well, the closed beta testing really has only been around for about 18 months, 2 years, hasn't it? So it grew from 10 about when it was first set up, I think 2 years or so ago.
I mean, that pretty much corresponds with the improvements I've seen in mass multiplayer about a year and a half or something like that.
It was just before Supercarrier.
Supercarrier.
Just before Supercarrier.
It was March 2020 when there was a bit of a rough patch. I seem to remember.
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it? It was multiplayer was stopping. It got to the point where everyone was sick. Even we were just sick of it. And then so this started, and since then, boom. Okay, guys, brilliant. So kind of 50 to 70 is going to increase. The next question for me, or the last question for me is, let me have a sip of tea, is what drives you guys to do it? So you're all obviously a very different kind of person to me, as I'm sure you realise. So I went to one closed beta testing session, and it was 4 hours of landing on a carrier, being really serious and not having fun, really. And
well, I think
yes.
I was just going to say, from memory, I think most of us were really serious. There was one person who wasn't.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my point is,
somebody flew past the tower, didn't they, at Mach 1 before they disconnected?
I didn't last very long, did I, guys? I did try.
No.
Anyway, it was just the antithesis of what I find as fun. Is literally, I was just like, I might do this if you paid me a healthy check, but otherwise, I think I would rather poke myself in the eye with a fork. And I think, why do you guys do this? I know I'm fully aware there's no remuneration for you. You don't get anything material for it. And it's a lot of work. And I've no doubt there's a lot of stress in it as well. And I've no doubt you all argue, and because this is what people do when they get together and do serious things. So the question is, as if you can generalize a question, why do you do it?
To make it better.
Okay. Well, I think you said it yourself, to make the game better, and the results are showing self-evident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's a very selfish motive, because, if we find the bugs, the game gets better for ourselves as well, right?
Yeah.
Personally, I just love
when we get time to play it.
Free.
I just like it.
Say that again, Gary.
I say personally, I just like fixing people's stuff for free. And mental illness, being a little bit crazy helps.
Yeah. I think
you have to be crazy.
I think to an extent you're all a bit crazy, but thank God that you exist, is all I can say.
I mean, that super carrier, we did 4 hours of taking off from the carrier from various catapults, getting the gear up, despawning, getting into another aircraft, getting to the catapult, getting off the deck, gear up, despawning, getting to another. We did that for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was monotonous and it was boring, but it had to be done to make sure that the super carrier worked on launch day.
And then we had to do the landing patterns, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the next day we did landing patterns.
I would also say I find it very rewarding to see the results, if that makes sense, because you see, it's like, that's working now, and you think, I had something to do with getting that fixed, even if it's a small way, as opposed to just shouting on the forum and not knowing if you're being heard. You're doing something, and you can see your helping.
Yeah, especially you do so much stuff. Not that I can say anything about it, I'm aware, but yeah.
It's quite cool when you see
catching bugs that might crash servers.
When you see your bug in the change control, that's quite fun actually. And you say, hey, I found that.
Actually, I kind of relate to that a tiny bit. Every now and then, it doesn't happen very often, but every now and then they sneak a little one in the patch list where I say, that was me! I did a video highlighting that! And there is, like I said, it doesn't happen very often for me, but there is some satisfaction in there, isn't it? That at least you've done a tiny little thing. So,
Yeah, it is fun, even when they carry through some of the stupid names you give a bug, you see that appear on the change list, you think, you would have thought someone would give that a better name, but no.
Copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
I mean, we don't catch everything, obviously, but we catch probably 90%, I would say, around that. Would you guys agree?
No idea.
No, on the percentage-wise, I couldn't say, but I think that there's no expectation that we would ever catch everything. It's impossible, especially as DCS and the modules themselves, the Hornet and the M16, again, so complex now. We're never ever going to catch everything, and the whole premise of closed beta testing is that the main thing is to make as you said, Kat, make sure DCS after the update works. On a basic level, everything works and people can continue to enjoy it. We don't want it to have serious crash issues, which is obviously one of the big things we look out for, or serious issues with modules. Are we going to catch every little issue? No, but we'll certainly try our hardest to do that, I think.
Yeah.
It's also nice to be a part of a team with a bunch of people with big brains.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice. You learn a lot from each other as well.
What team's that then?
Not GR, I can tell you that.
Must be the secret Apache team.
Roger, guys. Yeah, lots of good stuff I heard in there, and like I wouldn't know if you were spotting some of the stuff in the Viper or the Hornet or not anyway. But from my point of view, the overall reliability of the thing and the enjoyability of the thing is what I noticed, and that's just gone up. I don't know, exponentially for me anyway. And long may it continue, guys. And it means I can keep doing stupid things like having hundreds of planes versus hundreds of planes. Okay, guys. All good answers so far. You've passed. Anything before we go on to the valued viewers' questions?
Nope.
Okay, guys. Nope. We've obviously got an agreement here that we can talk about the way they test stuff and stuff like that. We can't say, we can't go into the details of obviously what they're testing. Are they testing this bit for this aeroplane? Because they're not allowed to talk about it. So we can't do that. So I'll ask the questions and you can tell me whether you can answer them or not. Question the first. How does your team decide how to test? Do you hit one particular aspect at a time, or do you look at all changes as a whole?
Well,
there's a couple of different ways.
Yeah,
a couple of different ways that we get into testing. One of them is the forums. So we have guys that go through the forums, look at the bugs, retest them, see if they can confirm them, especially if a track hasn't been provided. And then they'll test that and confirm if there's a bug or not and pass it up to be, I guess, fixed. I myself also look at things like your videos and other people's videos, and when they point out bugs, I'll then try and replicate them myself and report them if they haven't been reported on the forum.
Yeah, and in terms of month-to-month testing, because for the actual updates as the changes and fixes come through, then the approach is both of those. We do test all the changes as a whole because that's how everybody will receive them when the update goes live. You'll receive them as a whole package, so it's got to work together. But then, as we're all well aware, our favorite job is the regression testing, which is
what does that mean?
Focusing on modules. So we will, especially for the F-16, any module that's in heavy development, so the F-16, the F-18, and what have you, we have a set list of tests for every system that we go through. And we'll run that multiple times for each update run after every build we get of the software, which can be 5, 6, 7 builds of an update in the run up to release day. And every time then we'll restart their test from scratch and then test the systems again. Because as we're all well aware, small changes can have unintended consequences where you least expect it. So we have to test everything as rigorously as possible, and it does take a lot of time. It's probably, I don't know what would you say? I'd say it's probably about 6 to 8 man hours to test, say, the Hornet from start to finish, every single weapon and every single system.
At least, yeah. At least.
Yeah. And most of it's in single and multiplayer as well.
And sometimes we can get 3 or 4 updates a day. So you just started on one and then another update, so you've got to start from scratch again.
And that's where the real time goes into the testing, especially when it's 2 or 3 days before release. It's quite a bit of pressure for the team, I'd say.
Yeah, that's I guess the most, would you say, boring part or repetitive part, because you're doing the exact same tests every time, month after month.
Resetting keybinds is one of the tests, and that is such a pain in the ass.
That's a patience test. That's a patience test.
Roger, guys. Okay, very good. The next question: what is your current split between VR and non-VR testing, and how do you perceive this changing in the future? So, is he talking like a proportion split, or how do you take that question?
Yeah, there'd be numbers of testers.
Mm-hmm. I test multi-monitor with MFDs and clicky switches and things like a semi-cockpit build. And there's a lot of guys here test with different VR systems, and we do it all at the same time on the same server. So if one guy in VR is saying, I'm seeing this, I can say, well, with multi-monitors, I'm not seeing that, or with multi-monitors, I am seeing this. It's like on the supercarrier, the LSO station, I wasn't seeing anything, whereas the other guys with single monitors and VR, were seeing it. So that was a bug that we sorted. But a lot of the other guys are in VR. OB
probably worth mentioning that we bring our own kit. We're not kind of designated, so we came with what we were.
Yeah.
And as such, we are quite a sort of a broad group of different people. It's a bit like Noah's Ark. I don't know. I see a lot of different squadrons, but there's people that have got a PvP flavour in their squadron or a milsim flavour. So we all have different kind of tastes and expertise in our little spot. I wasn't party to how we were picked, but I can see that we're all different. You know, I've got different tastes perhaps to other guys.
A lot of us also have different hardware, not just VR hardware, but different capabilities in PCs. So we get a broad range of testing in that regard, and we also have players testers all around the world. So we also get different ping varieties as well. So myself and Gary, we can be up to 300 ping to the server. Other guys will be right on top of it and have 8 millisecond ping. So we can look at a lot of those things as well.
Generally speaking, if you find a problem, does it happen that you find problems in one set of hardware, like VR, and then the problem does not exist in another set of hardware, like non-VR? Is that a thing? I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, very much a thing. There can be differences. VR, and as Auntie mentioned there, multi-monitors, different monitor setups. So that's why it's nice. Like I say, no one's picked based on the hardware. But equally, then it is. I think we've got a good representation, probably, of what people have got out there as well. We've got a bit of everything. Different VR headsets, and different VR headsets can see problems differently and not see them. So it can get quite complex trying to replicate things, even down to different graphics cards, as we know, can be cause AMD people can see a problem and Nvidia people won't.
So many combinations. What a nightmare.
Yeah,
seriously.
It is. And how to perceive the changing in the future, VR and non-VR? I mean, I haven't really thought about it, but you'd assume as time goes on, VR is going to become more accessible and more prominent and more attractive to people. I'd assume. I know for me, once I went to VR, I don't think, certainly for fun flying, I wouldn't go back from VR now.
I think it would make it a bit difficult for testing.
I do, yeah. So I tend to try and test mainly in 2D, just because it's easier. I'm writing things down and trying to, read things while I'm doing it. It's impossible in VR, but I do make a conscious, effort to split my time and put the VR on because, as we just said, you'll see things that you don't see in 2D.
There's a lot of keyboard testing as well with trying to, because you don't get in your pit and set up. You're just running it over again. So I use the keyboard and arrow keys quite a lot just when testing. It's a thing though that because we're enthusiasts, we don't have too many people with potato PCs. So I don't know if that's a thing we're missing. Do we need to hire anybody that is running really well?
Yeah. Mine's 6 years old.
I guess, like you said.
I think.
Go ahead, Auntie.
I think I want to point out here as well that some of the people we have in here. This is probably irrelevant. I'll just point out a few. We've got Pikey in here. He's one of the guys behind Moose. We have Kiribob in here who does SRS. We've got Deadly Fishes and a number of other people who are behind some of the big servers like TTI, 4YA guys. Blue Flag. We got server owners and programmers in here as well, so they can test stuff at the same time as we're doing all this. So we have a good range of people. Yeah.
AMVI, 107th, obviously Grim Reapers, who are a testing thing unto themselves, really.
We can break it. No one else can break it.
Cap can. Nobody can break it like Cap.
Well, yeah,
that's true.
That's been the idea that the expansion over the last 18 months is helping. Basically, obviously a lot of word of mouth, but going around other squadrons and getting people, because everybody uses DCS differently, and that's what we're trying to. Well, that's how I looked at it. Trying to get in in here is the people that do all the different stuff. You want the super milsim, because everyone then will see different problems, and we just get that nice input.
Skatezilla's in as well, isn't he? Can't forget
it works really well. The scripting, that side of things. We need input from every angle.
So it's great. So what you've got really is a portion of the demographic of who actually plays, which I think is what you need. It's great. Okay, guys, very good. Next question: what sort of automated testing, if any, e.g., scripted control inputs or AI aircraft? I don't really understand that, but what do you guys make of that automated testing?
As the team as a whole, we don't do automated testing. It's all, the intention is to test it as we'd use it. It's hands-on. So, but as we mentioned before, we've got people with very big brains in here. He's not here tonight, but Quaggles has made a very good tool that can run aircraft through a series of automated tests that we do use as like a litmus paper kind of thing. Because if an aircraft on a particular weapon fails one of his tests, then it could be nothing, and most of the time it is nothing, but it could just help pinpoint something. But I wouldn't say it's not an official tool, and it's not something we rely on, but it's certainly an interesting tool and very clever. But 99% of the testing is 99.9% is just hands-on and using it how we would when we fly for fun, because that's where you find the issues.
Okay, guys. Next,
there is going to say, obviously we do in like our quality control department and everything, quality assurance. There is an element of automated testing that's done there, but that's done by us internally before it goes out to closed beta.
By us, you mean ED, right?
Yes, by ED, yeah. But that obviously doesn't replace what we do here in closed beta, because this is the human factor. You'll never replace that with any amount of automation, I don't think.
Very good.
And I don't think you can do automation very easily on multiplayer either.
No,
really.
Exactly.
Okay, guys. Similar question as the previous one, but I'll ask it anyway. What is the hardware scope of the CB testing, given that DCS can be run on a variety of systems with different specifications in the live environment? We've asked that already, and I had a follow-up to that, and that is regards to controllers. There are a heck of a lot of controllers out there. You got your we've got my wings, and we've got our your X56s and your Warthogs, and all these different systems out there, all sorts, and butt kickers and MFD screens and all of that. Do you ever get any problems that you find that you spot with certain hardware systems like controllers and such?
Yeah, we actually had an issue with the MFD Cougars some time ago. They were out of sync, for example, that we couldn't actually program them because they would, as soon as we restarted DCS, they would be unprogrammed. So yeah, that happens with the specific types of hardware. And I also have a Stream Deck from Elgato, and I usually test it with all my modules to see if all connections go, because it uses a very special plugin. So yeah, and also with other MFDs and other types of panels that are sold. There's some people here already have those panels, and it's also a sample of what's out there.
Yeah, I think the proportion, the cross section of what people have is pretty much the same as out there in DCS. So I have wing panels, X56 joystick. I know Gary has Thrustmaster. Obi has wing controllers. So and then Artie's got multi MFD. Oh, sorry, purple. Oh, my bad. And I know Auntie and Gary run multi MFD and so on, and a lot of other guys as well.
There's a few Arduino guys. Auntie, you Arduino, don't you?
Yeah, I do Arduino stuff.
Yeah, I know Frank is into his button boxes as well. So.
Yeah.
And we've got some potato type machines, as they would call them. Some of the older hardware that we run on, because not everybody has super fast computers. I can't do that. I mean, I've got a 6-year-old gaming laptop with an i7 5700, which we used to use in GR as the server at one time, and it's got a 960 mobile chip with only 2 gig of video RAM on it. And sometimes I boot that up with DCS just to make sure it will still work with such a low graphics card.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Next, what is the requirement to becoming a closed beta tester? Is there a certain thing you have to have or not have or whatever?
The main requirement is be a nice person.
Oh, what about that?
Well, I know, and it sounds silly, but it is. That is the main thing. Just get along, because I don't want to blow smoke up everyone's bottom in here, but it is a really great group of people. Like you said before, you probably all argue and all this. There isn't any. It might be a lively discussion now and again, but on the whole, it's a really, really good group. Everyone that's here and everyone that couldn't make it tonight. So that's the main thing I look for, is just you're a nice person, basically. But then going on from there, it's the only way we can look at how you would be as a tester is forum reports. If you're active on the forums, reporting bugs from open beta, as a lot of people do, that helps a lot. And just a good sound knowledge of DCS and either specific airframes, or ideally, broad knowledge of most, and then one that you've got a really good understanding of, just so you can test. And then I'd say the other things, having spare time, which I think, as the guys here will probably attest, is needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a fairly hefty commitment, to, you can't just sit around and do nothing. You do have to actually do stuff.
Yeah, and
keep secrets.
Your ability to keep secrets is a thing.
Yeah, there is a commitment to contributing and being involved in the testing, and if you can't maintain that, then we have to switch out, because although we're looking maybe to increase the team size slightly, there's an upper limit of where we want to be with testers to keep it manageable, and then it means if you're not so active, then you may ask to do a little bit more, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll switch out with somebody else. And it's not a bad thing. People come and go pretty regularly. Doesn't mean to say they can't come back if they get more time, but that's kind of how we work it.
Roger, guys. Lovely list we got there. That's good. Thank you very much. Next, interesting one. Probably won't be able to answer this, but we can have a quick chat anyway. How soon can we expect multi-core performance? Playing in VR is an amazing experience, but even with high-end equipment, we can't utilize it to its full extent. So very, very quickly, my understanding is that our CPUs have multiple cores in them, and this particular application only uses one or one and a bit, I think, something along those lines. To be honest, like most of the applications that I use at the moment, but they're asking when will it use more of those multi-cores. I remember there is a plan. I know we're not going to talk about it in detail, but there is a plan for that for the future, wasn't there?
Yeah, there is a plan, sure, and I think it was in newsletter about 2 or 3 weeks ago. More than that, really. I mean, it's a good question, but the newsletter had the most up-to-date information, and in the scope of it's outside the scope of really what we're talking about tonight here.
Yeah.
And, there's other people far more qualified to give more information on that as and when.
Roger,
it's ready.
That's for a different interview. Okay.
Exactly.
A similar one. How is the progress for the Apache coming along? We'll just watch Wagner's video, surely.
Basically, yeah.
The answer is yes.
It's coming along great, as you can see in Matt's vids. It's looking really good. But
I think Steam has it for release on the 15th of December. So
as we all know,
brilliantly.
Steam dates are often a placeholder, aren't they? So
yes, they are.
We have to tell Steam a date. So that's why often we have this for every module launch. But Steam says it's going to be here, and then we change it because we have to keep it to a certain. There's a limit. I don't get involved with Steam, but there's a limit to how far ahead you can say. So that's why we have to change it. So Steam can't be used as an indicator.
Roger, guys.
Newsletters, as the official line, newsletters are the best thing.
Newsletters.
All right, guys. Back to the more serious questions. Even though the quality of the releases has improved, agreed, massively over the last year, sometimes major, obvious bugs still make it through. Why is that? Not enough time, not enough testers. I wish they gave an example, but I'm sure that's got some truth in it. But answer.
Well, I'll start and then I'll turn it over to the guys because they may have a different answer to that I've got. I think over the last year, major bugs. There's probably, I wouldn't say they were major, but there's probably been a couple of F16 things that have gone through to open beta. Why is that? Well, there's a couple of things to look at. It could be, as we said before, it could be that they were just missed. You know, on the grand scheme of things, you know, on a particular update cycle, the guys might have caught just, I'd say, 40 bugs. Just, you know, pick a number out of the air, and then that's the one that didn't get caught. So the other side of it is that it more than likely, in most occasions, except for probably once or twice that I can remember, they are caught in testing, but then it's up to us as ED to then make a decision. Do we delay the whole update based on this one issue that we found, or do we release and then we've already started planning the hotfix because we know we need to fix it, and it you know, and it might be that the fix isn't ready for, say, the Wednesday of the release, but it's going to be ready for Friday. So rather than delay the whole update, unless it's obviously totally game-breaking bug, in which case we would do, we'll let it go through, and then with the full knowledge that we're going to fix it within a few days. I certainly don't think it's not enough testers. I think we, you know, as we said, we're growing the team slightly, but I think we're in a good place with testers. Time, there's been a few squeezes in the middle of the year. We got a little bit of a squeeze on time. I do remember it was just before, was it just after 2.7? I think we had a little run of very tight update windows, and but I don't think we let anything major through then. So time, not necessarily a factor, because when we have less time, everyone chips in and really gets stuck in. So it's a good team effort in that respect.
Sometimes there are updates for the what do we call it, the release candidate, that occur not long before the patches release, like the patches released publicly. And whilst the regression teams try and at least get the major things out of the way before it comes out, we don't necessarily get all of them.
As long as we catch the game breakers, that's the thing.
Yeah,
the ones that crash your servers or crash your desktop or stop your weapon systems from working completely. They're the big major bugs. They're the ones that we have to catch, and I think they're the ones that we do catch most of the time.
At the end of the day, people have to realize it's still open beta. It's public, but there's still bugs to be accounted for. And even if we don't catch them, if they catch them, they're also participating in improving the simulator by reporting them in the forum.
There's another way of answering this, and it's simple. Us as a group moan internally about how much time we get, and I think Obi could probably say this. You know, we kind of pick on you and say, you know, all right, you're gonna do this to us, you're gonna put us under the thumb here. We do our best, but it's not like the point is missed. I think it's a well made point by someone. Stuff that will get through, and it'll always happen. But I think what we're achieving is doing it less and having it happen less.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to to getting picked on.
The moaning, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but no, but in fairness, it's good, and I wouldn't want it any other way, because one, it shows you all care, and two, it's good. You know, we good to push back and completely all for it.
Also, one other thing, you have to remember, this isn't a video game. These are highly complex weapon systems on these aircraft, and if something slides through, we catch it later, at least.
I was going to say, I think one thing that you got to think about when you're making questions like that is that you don't see the ones that we catch. You know, we would catch a lot before they actually get out. Like literally, a day before the release, we will find like game-breaking bugs, and they'll get fixed really quickly and make it, and it'll be fixed before it comes out.
Exactly right. And as Vader said, it's a really good point of reference that we are looking at release candidates for an open beta. So that does have to be kept in mind.
Okay.
It's a conveyor belt of software coming at an amazing speed. ED really push this stuff out fast. They're constantly at it. There's not a single game that plays like this. Even Star Citizen and all those games that are, apparently long in development don't have this game. The idea of this game is like, when's your release date, DCS World? Oh, we don't have a release date. We're just going to keep going. Can you imagine what that feels like? So it's just a cascade of software, and there's so many levels of tests. We're right at the back end of this. You've got Ed's team, you've got other tester teams that see deeper into it, and then you've got us doing this user acceptance testing with the multiplayer concentrating. So and then it's just repeat and repeat and repeat, and it keeps going. It's relentless. It's like the sea, just trying to brush it back. So. In the one hand, it's the hardest thing to test something. It's a moving goal. There's a goal that's moving across. You got to hit it while it's going, and then it's going to come across. It's like Pong. But again, you've got you've got a good chance of doing it, and you keep doing it. But that's the benefit of having this software. It's just so amazing that we're getting all these free updates for years and years. I've been playing this for 10 years, so. We can live with the odd bug if we get to stable, and we've got much more of a brighter future than any game that's got a release date.
Roger, guys.
This isn't Fortnite. This is not like Fortnite. This game is this simulator is so complex under the hood with all the different systems integrated, and including real world. Aerodynamics, you've got proper lift and stuff like that. You've got turbulence now, and they're heading towards real-time weather. It's so complex. The guys that are behind this are chucking out updates to us. Sometimes we get 3 or 4 a day. Sometimes there isn't any for 2, 3, 4 days, and then it's like buses or policemen. They all come along at once. It's so complex, You
meant dynamic weather, right?
Yes.
Just to be clear.
And you have to remember, there's some stuff out there that's not really public knowledge, and so we have to get close to what is depicted in real life, but we don't have the information to corroborate that. So everything you see on DCS is public knowledge. It's been based on public knowledge of the aircraft and systems, and that sometimes it's not guesswork, but it has to be quite close to the reality, and that takes time, and that's why there's always this game aspect to it, because some of the information is classified.
Well, Auntie said it's not Fortnite, but there's always 2 more weeks.
Just to touch on that briefly, just to add to that is oftentimes people report bugs, particularly in the forums, and say, the Harrier HUD infrared spot system works like this, and we can report with that, but we have to, the first thing is going to get asked of us is, well, can you prove with some sort of publicly available information that it does that? And often that's not provided, so we will have to then go and find it if we can. And I will spend hours researching stuff if I can to find things, but oftentimes they can't be found, so there's nothing that we can do.
Roger, guys, that was some great answers, and I've got one tiny thing to help kind of quantify that, to kind of put it into context. I was messing around with the kind of, the front end easy access stuff, some of the Lewis stuff the other day. I was trying to create a missile, powered missile, and I took the JSOW, and I went in and put a rocket motor on the back of it, okay, thinking that this would be an easy thing to do, because I wanted to turn it into a drone. Okay, I put 50 pounds of thrust on the back of the JSOW. That would be easy, right? There's a lure there, and there's I don't know, maybe 50, 100 parameters that you can change. No idea what any of them do. They're either in Russian or just not well explained. And I thought, well, how hard can it be? It's a missile, it goes forwards. It's probably just got some very basic subroutine behind it that makes it go forwards. I just want to push it a little harder with a bit of thrust, and let's turn it into a little drone. No, it turns out every time you fire a JSOW, there's this massive flight model behind it, and you can make it do all sorts of weird things completely by accident. And I spent a whole day, which I just can't afford to do, but I spent a whole day getting this bloody JSAL to try and act like a little drone. And everything I did, it got more and more complicated and more frustrating. And I thought, this is like a proper flight model for a full aeroplane, and this is just a missile. It's just a thing that you fire, and you don't even think about it. You know, if that was me, if I programmed DCS, I would just have something super simple. It goes forwards, it goes down a bit, it sort of hits a target, that's it. But it's got this full, huge, dynamic flight model, and it's adjusted for the wind. And so I thought, you know what, I'm checking out. And after that day, I promised I'm never going to go into something like that again, because it was just a nightmare. But it proves what you guys are saying about, I don't want to use the word over-modelled, but you know what I mean? It's massively highly detailed, even on stuff that you wouldn't think would be massively highly detailed. So, anyway, it's just a kind of story that I remember from the other day that kind of reinforces what you're saying. Right.
You know, they call that the simplified flight model. Cap.
I don't want to. Yes. Well, the simplified flight model is too hard for me, guys. Right, we're pushing on. When will the F10 bug for predominantly Radeon cards be addressed? I only found out about this the other day. Apparently, I don't even know what the problem is really, but apparently F10 bug. Go.
Obi.
Yeah, well, I'm fairly certain that it has been already addressed. The F10 map bug was where the icons would disappear. With people that had Radeon cards, the icons on F10 would just randomly disappear. Well, turned out not randomly. But I've just had a quick check to make sure I'm not making this up, but I just checked on the forum, and after the last open beta, it seems that it was resolved for people, because we put the fix out in the last open beta, so...
I guess that's a primary example of where it works on everyone's computer except this guy who's got this type of graphics card, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, and if whoever asked the question is still seeing it, then go to the forum, make a report, and put a track up there and some evidence, and we'll definitely have a look at it.
And some hardware specs helps too, especially if it seems to be a hardware.
Yeah, DCS blog and all that, the usual reporting stuff. But yeah, put it on the forum, and it'll definitely get looked at.
You know what? Imagine how much easier your job would be if you were making an Xbox game and everyone had exactly the same thing. You can just test it. Yep, we know it's going to work for all 1 million people or whatever. That's what you want to do. Anyway, guys, I digress. Right, hey, I was wondering, how do you test if aircraft is actually according to specs you get from real planes, and how do you compare to the data on real life planes? So that's not really anything to do with what we're talking about today, but has anyone got any interesting anecdotes for that?
It's classic, isn't it? It's like we are not NASA scientists, and we definitely don't know how the developers have designed it, but it's got to make sense. So one of the things that we find challenging about what we do is that we don't always get a spec sheet, because that's proprietary, confidential information, but we have to check that it makes sense. So we do a lot of blind testing. You know, does this the gear? Okay, does it come down? Right, that seems okay. But sometimes it's, what's this button do? We'll ask Obi. You know, we don't know. So yeah, don't confuse us with the developer side, because we don't have those answers.
Yeah, that's definitely the more, that side of things is the testing that we do internally, you know, where we have more of the data sheets and whatnot to refer to. But like Pikey summed it up pretty much spot on. It's the blind testing as well is a good thing, like for new modules and that. It's because we want you guys to look at it as a person who's just downloaded it, you know. And that's some of the best testing you can do.
I think a lot of what we do in closed beta testing is about player expectations. So does the aircraft perform as a player or flight simulator enthusiast would expect it? Yes, we can't sit there and look at the hard numbers necessarily, but you know, if a Yak can super cruise, you know, obviously that's clearly not within spec, you know, so we do look at those things. You know, is it plausible? I think is more where I think Pikey was heading.
What do you guys?
Well, I mean, these things will be addressed if we do have the data, but it's not like we sit there and figure out every aspect of the flight envelope every time.
Yeah, it's important to say that we have these very heated and interesting conversation about avionics, and ECM is the latest one that we've been going on about, and that's that. We all want that, but nobody knows how it works anyway, so we're all second guessing how we could ever implement it in the first place.
Roger, guys. And for the record, I have asked for access to the development team, and I've been told, and rightfully so, Cap, that will never happen. So, guys, fair enough. Next question, and this is important, I think you'll all agree, and I quote, how many bathrooms does Obi need? So someone's going to need to explain it.
Down to me then, by the sounds of it, is it? No one's going to... Oh, here he goes, yeah.
We get frequent updates in the testing channels on Obi's bathroom renovations in his new house, and we often wonder how much he actually does in the testing.
We have a vested interest in it as well, because the money for these bathrooms comes off the back of our efforts. So we like to know how it's going.
Wow.
Oh dear.
That's where answer a question in the future. That's where all our pay goes, in the floor of his bathroom.
Agreed.
Thanks to my hard efforts at weekends over the last few months, I now have 2 bathrooms.
2 bathrooms? Ooh.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the rest of us have just got one Obi.
Well, I know
one's in the living room, but
the other one is the next one that will be done, and that is straight from the 1950s. It's a beautiful bathroom. So, yeah, very nice.
There you go, guys.
I don't think everyone wants to hear about my bathroom situation.
There is lots I can say about that.
He's also got a DCS rig in there, so he can test all the time.
Yes.
While
it's his commitment.
No, I mean, come on, putting the rig in the bathroom would be stupid. I've just bought a very long cable for the VR.
There you go.
Okay, guys, we're going to push on, believe it or not. We've kind of covered this as well, and I get the feeling there may be some shouting here, but how long do closed beta testers get to test things before they're pushed to go live?
Well, starting probably 3 weeks before the update, depending on if there's a hotfix. If there's no hotfix, it can be 4 weeks, but there's normally a little bit of a lull after an update while we get together the stuff for the next one. So longest is 3 weeks if we're doing a monthly cycle, and it can be if coming towards the end of the 3 weeks, if there's fixes and things that are coming in, and all the partner developer updates, they come in near the end of that cycle, so they have a lot less time to be tested. But as was mentioned earlier, it can be the night before the update we're testing. Well, we are testing anyway, but we can be testing fixes and that the night before.
Yeah, usually we will have the release calendar that actually goes out, on the Wednesday on the update day. We will usually have that 1 or 2 days before, I would say, like Monday usually. If we get really unlucky, then there's going to be a new release candidate on Tuesday or even on the day off.
When we normally start regression testing probably a week, I would say.
Before, yeah.
So that's when most of the changes are in. And then it's usually just there's no new features, there's only bug fixes. So things that we find in that regression testing, or coincidentally, or something that's reported, is about a week before the projected release date, and then that release date may move if we find serious bugs in that regression testing.
I think the last update that we had, not the last one we had, but the latest update that we had, I think, was about 3 hours before the patch went live.
Yeah.
And that
you've got to clarify
a small bug.
Well. Those aren't big changes, No,
that wasn't a big change. It was just a change on a bug that we found the night before and said, hey, any chance of getting this in the patch before it goes out? And so that said, right, we've done that, sorted that, so you've got to get back in and specifically test that, and then any systems around that might have been affected by that change. So it's all hands to the pump in those sort of situations.
Thank you, guys. Next one, very important. How much does the average tester get paid, above or below 50,000 a year?
Well, it's definitely below.
It's below 50,000.
Way below.
Way below. Yeah, it's probably about 50,000 below.
Is it the same amount as I pay RC? Is that what we're getting here?
I think they're on the same lofty wage. Yeah.
Right.
I think we get less.
Wow, you're going to minus.
Yes, we do. We've had. I think who here hasn't had to buy a new hard drive?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even SSD drive suppliers in
hard drives.
For ages.
Let me just go and get my tiny violin. Hang on.
To clarify, valid viewers, they do not get paid. They do it for the love of doing it.
They do
because they're crazy. Well done, guys. How does one become a tester? We've already talked about that, so we're skipping that one. What is the worst bug that's ever been found in testing in the last 18 months? Ooh.
That bloody annoying noise on the Mosquito when you pull the throttles back. Drives me mad.
I don't think that was it. But
I mean, we found a bug where you would, join, one or another aircraft and you start it up and just crashes your game completely to desktop. But those never made it to, those obviously never made it out.
Yeah, if you're talking severity of bugs, it's those kind of things, isn't it? Just crash desktop issues and things like that. It's not exactly what I would call exciting bugs, but they're the worst.
It depends. The ones that are so contagious or so impactful, the ones that moan about missiles, they tend to be the ones that the PvP guys just go massively about, and it can be a really, really. We had one. Was it? I don't want to talk about it, but there's several bugs to do with missiles that have been spoken about at length, and testing that is so difficult because you're getting two people out and you're jousting, you're throwing missiles around, and you're trying to work out, and you don't have much time.
Yeah, and
I must admit.
Go on, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I must admit, a lot of our multiplayer testing involves missile sync, missile behavior, and missile evasion, and the ease thereof. Things get through because we can't. If we sat on it forever, nothing would ever come out. I think.
Yeah. So there's a cut-off point where you've just got to say that's the best we can do.
Yeah, and with things like the AIM-120 that's just been released, there's improvements to be made now on the terminal seeking, but we couldn't do those improvements without releasing the mid-course and the INS that we released last time. We have to get that working first to get the missile where it should be, in the general area correctly, and then move on and do the terminal stuff. Then you move on and do the countermeasure resistance and things like that. If we try to do it all at once, as Ironwolf just said, we'll be sat there for months testing and refining and testing and going back and changing something that we'd done the previous month. Whereas if we're breaking into stages, and yes, we know things are going to need improvement in the following update, but it's something as complex as the AIM-120. It can't be done in one single update and then everything be perfect. We need that development, and we need, as we mentioned before, we need masses of people on it. We need the open beta players using it, firing off 100,000 AMRAMs, and then we get the bug reports from open beta, and they are invaluable to the process. And then we're already, before that update's out, we're already working on the next phase of it. So, and that's how it has to be.
Thank you, guys. I've just thought of an interesting question to answer that I'm going to splice in. How big of a bug is required that you find that you would pull the open beta release until it was fixed? Can you quantify that somehow? How many people does it have to affect? How many planes does it have to affect? That's what I'm thinking.
One module would be if it was a crash bug or rendered that particular module unusable, that would probably be enough. If it was something we found in time.
Every time a patch has been delayed, you could say that's when that's happened.
Well, it doesn't help because we can't see it.
Like last week.
The what else? Anything that
I can think of something. I don't know if we can say it.
Or make an analogy. Make it up, but make it. You know what I mean?
Okay. There was a time with something, and it was kind of visual. And we got asked our opinions on it by people that were quite way up. I remember we were in that room with you, Auntie, there, and it affected VR users, and it was super annoying. And for me as a VR user, I felt I wanted to say no. I can't, put my heart behind pushing us out on Wednesday. But I also knew that I was not the most important section of community. There was I don't know what the statistics are and how many people do it in TD, but they were going to have a fantastic experience. And it was just, in the end, I kind of just, I wanted to say no, but I ended up saying, oh yeah, I think most people would like this. Do you remember what it was, Obi?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Roger. I get the. It's a good description, Pike. I get the idea of the size of the thing that you're talking about now. So
yeah, and that's that's something when it comes to big new features. If there was a major problem with it, and not even new features, but any major problem could be enough to stop a release. Delay a release. We're not. We're not on railroad tracks. Focused on this. We said we're doing it in, so we've got to do it then. Obviously, we'd prefer to keep to the schedule, but not knowingly to make... The top and bottom of it is, once the update comes out, as the vast majority of players going to have a better experience in DCS or worse, and if it's going to be worse after the update, then we would prefer not. We prefer to wait and make it so it's better, and that comes back to the same thing with when these, sometimes we make a decision to let a smaller issue with a module through. Because you look at the update as a whole and go, well, hang on, everybody's going to be having a much better experience because of the rest of the update. Do we want to delay that and then delay things subsequently down the line, or do we let it go and then we've got a hotfix which we've planned and we know about the issue, we're fixing it, and the hotfix will be out in a few days.
I will say this: I don't know if it should be edited out or not, but Obi can decide. When it's a bit of a line ball, oftentimes he'll ask the closed beta testers, should we delay? Is it a releasable product? Is this a stopper? And whilst we don't necessarily have the final say, at least he can get a feel for what a broad representation of the community will think. Could we live with this or not?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that goes back to what we were saying at the start. The team's a broad section of the community, and your opinion matters because it'll be your opinion times a million that we'll get when the update comes out. So yeah, absolutely. I'd always for things like that, we do a poll, don't we? Like go no go, and then that feeds up. And as you said, that's not the final say, but that'll feed up, and we work through that through the other testing teams and then we'll make a decision.
You get a good consensus of
yeah, exactly.
What it would be like.
It's just, the whole process is a team effort from top to bottom. So.
Roger, guys. Very good. A little less serious. Anyone got any anecdotals about the strangest or the funniest or the weirdest things that you found?
KA50 ejection crashed everybody to desktop.
Oopsie.
Was it V1 bombs on a Gazelle? What was that one, Stalker?
Yeah, that was more a Stalker thing, but yeah.
An E2 Hawkeye with engines shut off, taxiing sideways in the air across the map.
Oh yeah, I remember that was a good one. Though, yeah.
Oops!
We were just
word.
I was sitting there. Are you seeing that, or was it just me?
I had fun trying to land a hind on top of a floating E2 radar dome.
Ooh.
There's a Heinkel orbiting Dover Castle for about an hour and a half, and it was shot up to pieces, and its engines were on fire, and all its crew was dead. But it orbited for an hour and a half.
Autopilot, auntie.
We had to ram into it to get it to fall out of the sky. It was nuts.
I have one. I think I actually reported it because I'd seen it somewhere in a video or a picture, and that was that the F-16 was able to refuel upside down, so that the probe would go through the body of the aircraft, and as long as you touched where the attachment point was for the refueling probe, it would work. So I reported it up the chain, and it came back down from the developers that I should now test the A-10. So I don't know if you've ever tried to fly upside down an A-10 behind a tanker. it's very difficult, and it didn't work.
I guess the problem with the A10 is, if you fly upside down after about 10 seconds or so, the fuel system can't keep up and the engines will flame out.
Well, the F-16 should do the same, but apparently it doesn't. But yeah, so it was just like, as Obi said on the report that came down, he wanted video evidence that I'd actually done it. And there was one time that I wish you were part of the team, Cap, because I thought that's the kind of nutsy thing that you do.
I must say, I did take extreme pleasure in asking you to make the video of you doing it.
I did actually try. I'm not sure if I'm taking the you know what, but
yeah. So that's probably that's one of the funnier ones, I think.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. This doesn't make any sense to me, but let's see what you say. How involved are third-party developers in testing? What's a third-party developer?
So they're like our partner developers, like HeatBlur, Razbam.
Oh, right.
And they've got a presence in testing, so they're obviously from their point of view, which we're not here to talk about that, but they have their own testing teams for all their development, and then send us the finished product for each update. We obviously, as part of our testing, look at them as part of the general test of DCS. But yeah, all the third parties they're in the team, so to speak. They've got representation, so they're there and available if we want to talk.
I'm not sure if I can say this, but again, can edit it out if you want. So particularly with the GR team, because I guess myself and Obi sort of manage that in a way, is when we have spare time, because we're waiting for fixes to things that we've already found problems to, and we've received the updates from the parties, I'll often say to some of our own GR subject matter experts, I guess you could say, check out the Harrier. So I know Cypher does a lot with the Harrier, Auntie does a lot with the Mirage. We get people, there's nothing to do because we're waiting for ED to fix something. We may as well test that stuff. So, and also I know Cypher goes through the Harrier, for example, the Harrier bug logs in the forums and reports them.
Yeah, he's done amazing work there. Good work, Cypher.
Yeah, it's good, and it's just it's again, it's a team, and the partner devs are part of it. We all work together. Everyone wants a good release, don't they? So,
I think it's just as much in our interests and ED's interests that they work well as well. So if we can lend 100%. Some time to that, we do.
Yeah, we're all about everything working, not just particular things. Everything's got to work nicely together. So in an ideal world, and that's the push towards it. So yeah, I think it's great. The partner devs are active. Our testers are. Everyone has their own speciality. Like you said, T-Cypher's the Harrier, and that I think it works really well.
Are there any, I don't understand this again, are there any helicopters in the northern area in testing? I mean, sorry, what does northern area testing mean?
No idea what that is.
Well, I'm sure I can think of one fine Australian fella who'll fill you in on that.
Gary, Iron Wolf?
I know nothing about this, but I'll say there are plenty of helicopters in the southern zone. They're red ones.
Yes. Okay. Well, it all stems from you'll probably remember this, about 3 years ago, I made a mission for us all to fly, and
coffee campaign.
It was right in my early days of messing around with the mission editor, and I put some triggers in to alert people to when there was helicopters in the southern zone. Unfortunately, I used the repeat trigger, so for an hour and a half you had a stream of messages in the top right of your screen saying there were helicopters in the southern zone.
How to ruin a video? Let Obi do something.
Exactly. So that's at least 3 years ago, and I've still not heard the end of it.
And you never will do.
Now he works at ED.
I think because I do very little wrong, and it's the only thing they've got.
And it's now a GIF.
It is representative, though, of I think the attitude of the team that we don't always take each other's, we don't take things too seriously all the time. We do joke around and maybe have a rib of each other every now and then, and I don't think anyone gets too offended.
Roger. Just one quick thing to insert. You were talking about this regression testing. Is that just the new modules? Don't tell me you have to go back and test all the A10C and all the things, the 13-year-old modules.
We do test the A10C2.
Yeah.
Right.
We do test. So we'll have on the regression side, which is the super detailed testing, is for the newer modules.
Yeah.
But we have a general test of every module, which we do at least 2 or 3 times, which is every jumping into every module, firing each weapon. It's not as detailed as the regression testing, but it does this work kind of test. So yeah, the older the if something's had something changed, then we'll focus on it. But if we know nothing's been changed, then
and you're going to have. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, on top of that, I mean, there is time, so most of that goes to the newer, first-rate modules. But many of us have aircraft we love, so if we finished our main regress testing, we'll go through and pick our favorite one and have a look at that and make sure everything's in order.
That was the next obvious follow-up question, because if you asked me to go and test a JDAM in an A10, I've got no idea how to do it. I can't remember. So presumably you've got guys that specialise in certain modules as well, which is just again a natural thing to have, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
How many testing teams work on the new updates prior to release? I don't know if that means something to someone. Is it just a generic question? Or?
Sorry,
can we answer that, Obi?
Yeah, just repeat it again, sorry.
How many testing teams work on the new products prior to release? So I'm guessing, like an Apache is coming up as a new product. How many testing teams work on that new product? That's what I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got lots of internal testing teams within ED. Not going to go into.
So that's separate from closed beta, then, isn't it?
Yeah. There's probably 3 or 4 teams separate from closed beta. Each looking at different things, and then you've got all the SMEs. If it's a new product, you're in the SMEs and all that kind of thing. The developers, who are obviously well placed to test themselves as well with the knowledge they have. So there's lots and lots of people involved in testing all throughout the modules, and that's probably the best way.
I get it. Yeah, that's fine. And the final question, and we've done this before, but I'll ask it anyway. Were there any bugs the team found that halted? Have you guys halted an update in a good way? I mean,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a good example is when the new clouds released. They were pushed back 2 weeks, as some may remember.
Last week, I think we released on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday because we pushed back.
Yeah, like I said before, every time the release hasn't come out on the day that we say, it's usually because we found something that we think is game breaking.
Yeah,
and it can't be released.
Yeah, it's the same as the previous question was. It's if there's a major issue with either a new feature or just existing features, then we find it, or whoever finds it. It's not always closed beta. It's there's other testing teams. They might find something. We've got the QA guys who are looking at crash logs and things like that. They can pick things up through the automated system. So yeah, it's
actually
quite often.
I was going to say, Obi, you want to briefly touch on that? That when you do these crash log reports, they don't just shoot up into space and no one looks at them.
Yeah, the crash logs are the automated crash reporting in DCS. It's super important to always send the report because they do get logged in the back end, and they do. If there's multiple crashes with the same thing, then it comes to our attention much quicker, especially when they're things like, I don't know, DirectX crashes and things like that, really technical.
Is this when you get the kind of full crash, as in the game crash?
Yeah, when you get the, do you want to send a report? Right.
I didn't want to trouble you, Obi. I didn't want to trouble you, so I never did it. So, right, okay.
Well, thankfully, it doesn't go to me. Otherwise, they wouldn't get very far. But yeah, it's well worth doing because it's really valuable information to us because it can root out some really obscure crashes, shall we say? And definitely worth doing. And that's a lot of what the QA guys do. That we're here having the chat now. I think it's worth highlighting that there's probably another 50, 60 guys that aren't here that are in the different teams and all through the company that spend all day, every day doing exactly.
And so this applies to them as well then, really?
It does, yeah, absolutely. This is, everything we've talked about here happens not just here, but it happens in various different forms all throughout the company, basically.
That's the end of the questions, and I've actually enjoyed that. I didn't think I would enjoy that, but I did, and I've learned a lot about what you guys are doing now. I've got a good feel for what you're doing, the scope of what you're doing, roughly how you plan it. Before I wrap up, anything you guys want to say to the community or whoever's watching? Just give you a voice. Anyone want to say anything? I don't know what, but
all attached tracks.
Report your bugs, attach tracks. Yep.
Yeah.
Tracks are very important. I think we'll all agree.
Quickly explain what a track file is for someone.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that we're all DCS users, end users. None of us, except for Obi, are working for ED. We work. We don't even work. We do this mostly out of fun, but with a lot of sense of responsibility. So whenever you pick up a new update and you see stuff fixed or stuff that isn't fixed, just make sure that you help. And we don't need pats in the back, but we do need those tracks. We need people to report their errors. And of course, you might go to the forums and show your dissatisfaction. It's your right to do so, and it's valuable input most of the times. But above all, help us, because we are doing our best, and any help you can get by reporting those bugs as clear as you can with all those details most certainly that will be fixed much quicker, and we're helping the ED team to do so.
Yeah.
I'll tag a little thing on the end, by the way, showing how to grab a track file and do it.
Yeah, that's great. And I'd like just to add on to that. It's well said there. Just from me, it's just a thanks to everybody in the testing team. All the volunteers. Literally, the whole point why we sat here now is because of what you noticed, Cap, and you wouldn't notice that without all these guys. Every single person in the team has contributed to DCS improving over the last 18 months, and long may it continue. I think we wouldn't have the software we've got now without these guys. So just big thanks from myself and the rest of ED, really, for everything they put in, the time and the enthusiasm, and they make it fun. Like, we've had a bit of a laugh here, but it's an enjoyable experience to I was going to say work with them, but obviously we don't pay them, so just it is a very enjoyable experience. So
okay, guys,
the whippings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Of course. Okay, guys. As far as I'm concerned, having learned about you and talked to some of you, I really enjoyed that. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to get shouted at or not. But clearly, you're all. One thing I've learned is you're all, what I call a kind of AAA weird personality. Yeah, obviously weird. Weird's good though. I mean, look at me, Jesus Christ. You're all a AAA personality. You're all highly intelligent and nice, which is not particularly, that's a fairly rare combo to have. So it's lovely to having you all in one room. And I know there's another 25 of you somewhere else doing something else. But it's great to have you. Like I said, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't noticed the massive amount of difference, and I'm sure loads of other Masters and multiplayers have. So I'm absolutely chuffed. Thank you for giving up your time tonight for doing that. I've got nothing else to say. I hope you, valued viewers, enjoyed watching that. I'll see you guys later.
Cheers, Cap. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, recognition. It's nice. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Cap.
Thank you for your support.
Okay, bye,
Sort of going
guys.
off now.